Hello, this is the Airing It Out podcast. Welcome back. Thank you for being here. I am Sam, and in this week's episode, we're going to be talking about, well, I'll tell you what, it's one for the boys. It's one for the guys out there, okay? But ladies, listen in, because this is just as valuable for your brothers, your sons, and your partners, or whomever it may be in your life. We are talking about how we can navigate the minefield that is men's mental health at this current stage in the world. So buckle up. It'll be an interesting one. As many of you guys out there will probably know, it's hard to be a man. It's even harder to be a good man. To be a provider, to be responsible, to be a leader, to be a teacher, to be a father. It's a lot of pressure and it's a lot of responsibility. But hold on, because society has evolved past the masculinity of old, unintentional rhyme, and the goalposts have shifted. But where does that leave men? As men, we know, and women, if you don't know, which I'm sure you do, take note. We like simple, easy, and effective solutions, but how do we respond to the answer of what masculinity is now when it's the first time that it's changed in 100 years, 1,000 years, or even 1,000,000 years? However, today we're not talking about men's silent struggles. We're going to be talking about one of the best, simplest, and most effective actions that we as men can take to live happier, healthier, and more unburdened lives. Talking. Now, there are those of you who might fully understand and exactly know what it is that I'm talking about, but there are those of you who might not. And whichever side of the fence that you're on, I just wanted to illustrate some of the evidence that supports what we're talking about today. Now, these were studies that were done by Priory in 2005. You can find a link to them in the bio. But one of them is, the studies show that 40% of men have never spoken to anyone about their mental health. 29% say that they are too embarrassed to speak about it, while 20% say that there is a negative stigma on the issue. The biggest causes of poor mental health in men's lives are work, 32%, finances, 31%, and health, 23%. And this last one's a difficult one. 40% said that it would take thoughts of suicide or self-harm for them to go and talk to a doctor or a professional. Okay, but we're going to take a quick break there, quick pause, because that was heavy, all right? Those were the negatives, and that's not what we're about today. I said that we're not going to talk about men's silent struggles because, don't worry, there is an upside. We are doing okay. There is improvements happening, right? And I've got some evidence for that as well. So in the public perception survey carried out by the British Association of Counselling and Psychotherapy in 2022, we will also have a link for that in the bio if you wanted to do some further reading. It says that 79% of men say that it is more acceptable to talk about mental health than it was 5 years ago. Excellent, we love that. 69% of men say that they're more aware of mental health issues than 5 years ago. 68% say that there is less of a stigma than 5 years ago. 71% said that they would be more happy to talk to a professional or psychotherapist about their problems. Studies in 2010 found that 18% have reached out for counselling and professional help, whereas in 2022 it was 27%. So let's not beat around the bush. There are still issues, there are still problems, and we are still struggling as men. But guys, something is working. Something is making a difference, and the progress that we want to make towards being happier within ourselves is possible because it's happening. And we can do that, and we can keep it going. And we're going to talk more about talking, but trust me, I believe that it is essential and it is crucial for us as men. We find ourselves today in the age of attention, where companies will pay millions upon millions just to retain a few more seconds of your attention. We're in a time where masculinity has changed, but no replacement template has been offered up. So of course we're going to be scared to let go of the old one because we don't even know what the new one is. And all the while, all of this is going on within our heads. I know for me personally, when I was younger or when I was a teenager, I had no idea what a man was supposed to be. I knew sort of who I was, but I was just like, okay, well, at what point do I become a man? What is a man supposed to be? I don't have a checklist. I don't have things that I can tick off. Is it one thing or is it over time? I don't know. And I didn't have the answers. And I didn't know who to speak to about having the answers because I don't think anybody else knew. So I was so confused and I didn't know what to do, and it was difficult. But now, more than ever, because all of these things are going on inside of our heads and our hearts, we feel them. We feel these things as much as we think them. We have to have the courage to talk. And it's why it's so important that we keep our mates close, that we have community, and we know the people around us that we can trust. Because regardless of whether it's something you're thinking, whether it's something that you're feeling, whether it's something major, or whether it's something minor, you don't have to carry that around with you. If they're there for you, and they mean it, and they can prove it to you, that doesn't just mean that they're there for the sunny days. They're not just there for when everything's peachy. If they're there and they care, they'll want to know. And you have the right to speak and be heard. Right then, listeners, ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, whoever it is, these are the practical tips. I'm not just going to say, there's a problem and talking is the answer. Men, go. Come on, who does that help really? I mean, if you can, fantastic. But these are tips to help break it down. These are things that you can use to meet that kind of goal halfway of talking. And number one is know what's around you and know what is available. Okay, what do I mean? I'm talking about talk groups, Andy's Man's Club, Talk Club, two fantastic support groups where you, as men specifically, can go, be in a safe environment around peers who aren't going to judge you, and you will be given the space and you will be given the time to talk. It's not much more complicated than that. But let's also look at hobbies and groups that we can participate in when doing hobbies. Sport, fantastic, tried and tested throughout time. Excellent way to socialise with guys. I'm not saying don't socialise with women, but as men, this is something my doctor pointed out to me. Men aren't meeting up with men as much anymore. They're either spending a lot of times with their partners and families. Don't get me wrong, nothing wrong with that. But men aren't meeting up with men anymore. They're not having that guy time anymore. And as men, we need that kinship. We need that connection with other people who understand what it's like to be us. So the first tip is know what is around you. Look into your community. Where are the guys that you can go and do something with, have a dish, and just be yourself around? Number two is meeting up with your mates, but having the courage to be honest. I'm underlining that word, honest. It's meeting up with your mates, and regardless of what's going on in your life, whether you're over the moon, whether you are singing in the rain, or when the very last thing that you want to do is go out and see your friends, be honest, please. If they're your mates, they will care and they will listen. Be honest. But what's just as important here is that you're honest with yourself. We know what it's like as British people, and hey, listen, we got Australian and American listeners. Good day and howdy, partner. It might be the same in your cultures and societies as it is in ours, but in Britain, we've spoken about it time and time again on the podcast. It's very much a, hey, how you doing? Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, good. You? Yeah, I'm doing okay, thanks. Conversation over. That wall has stood sturdy and you have not let somebody in. But what we're saying with this point is let that wall down, but let it down to the right people. Be honest with yourself and be honest with your friends. Now the next step. So the next step, we're challenging the masculinity of old. We come from generations of stoic and stiff upper lip men where we had to be strong, we had to be providers, and we had to be... Okay, those are nice ideals, but we don't have to be them anymore, okay? We don't have to park our emotions in favour of duty. The duty's still there, but so are our emotions. And what this point is suggesting is that we open the door to those emotions again, and that we have a more conscious relationship with our emotions. Now, something I've been noticing recently is how far some men will go to run away from their emotions. It's scary. We were talking earlier, emotions aren't a simple answer. They're an entire spectrum, the emotional spectrum. There's no one answer and there's no definitive results. So yes, it's scary, but emotions aren't the enemy. And we need to be conscious of our relationship, because if we regard our emotions as bad, negative, scary, and evil, those emotions are who we are, just as much as our thoughts and our actions. The way we feel is a part of ourselves, and it is important to nourish all facets of ourselves and have a positive relationship with ourselves. Yes, as men, you can be the one that is behind you, motivating you and supporting you at every step. But if you're neglecting your emotions, that's going to be so much harder. So be conscious. When you feel something, don't shove it away. Don't bottle it up. Your emotions are an imperative part of who you are, and we're here to love our whole selves, not just the parts that we cherry pick. But what happens when you start being conscious of your emotions is that they can start working for you and with you. When you start to learn how to be empathetic, sympathetic towards others and yourself. When you have more love for others, when you have more love for yourself, that can be empowering. And it can be powerful towards you as an individual. But what it also means is that you can unburden yourself of those emotions. If you don't do anything with them, if you bottle them up, they stay there. They're not going anywhere. They are in you. But once you start to process them and work through them, sometimes you really just need to fucking feel something, right? Shit, I didn't mean to swear. We've done it now. Sometimes, as men, you just have to fucking feel it. If you're going through something, don't ignore it. Don't put it away. You might just have to fucking feel it, alright? That ain't easy. But you know what? Once you felt it, it's gone. It's gone. And it is no longer in you. You have dealt with it. And once you do that, you will feel lighter. You will walk with less weight. It's hard to explain, but trust me. Foster a positive relationship with your emotions. Now, this next tip, easy, simple. Know who you can trust. This kind of relates back to about talking to your mates. If you pour your heart out to a friend who you want to listen, but it might not be the right person, then you can come away from that feeling perhaps a little bit worse or a little bit less heard. But if you find the right person for you, the person that cares, your partner, there's a good chance, your partner or your best mate, there's a good chance that they care. It can make all the difference. And as a quick anecdote, I had it a couple weeks ago. I went for a walk with my partner and we were walking down a canal. And I got talking about something. It was actually about the podcast. And at the end of that conversation, I was just like, oh my God, I don't think I've ever spoken so much in my entire life. Like, I felt like I'd shared things with her that I've never spoken ever. These were things that just remained in my head and circulated in my head for years. And that was the first time that I'd spoken about them. And since then, I've not been able to stop thinking about that conversation. But why that conversation was so remarkable was that, and I mean this in the nicest, most considerate way possible, she just shut up and let me talk. She gave me the space, she gave me the time, and I think what's most important as a man, she gave me permission to talk about something that I really cared about. I mean, she wanted to listen, yeah, but she gave me that time. So this tip, find that person, but also be that person. Give that to someone else. Now, this last point, if I were you, if I were a betting man, woman, horse, child, individual, I'd have put money on this one. Of course you would have. Mindfulness. But, as a caveat, meditation and stillness. Now, this isn't mindfulness as a generic term, but as we tie it in with stillness and meditation, what it is for us as men in particular is finding that inner peace. Instead of always busying ourselves, instead of always working towards something, pause. Give yourself that time. Make that time. When you get back from work, make yourself a cup of tea, put your phone to one side and go sit on the sofa for 10 minutes, alone, quiet, and find stillness. Because when you have that stillness, when you have that moment of undistracted peace and quiet, that's when what is within starts to come up. And don't be afraid of that, because what you might receive when you're in that moment of stillness, what message, voice, whatever, emotion, that's true. That's truth. In that moment of stillness, you're allowing something to be. And whatever it is that you're being told is probably quite important. And it might just be the next step for you on your way to finding inner peace. I think that the next generation will have it even harder. So, it's time to set an example. It's time to become men that the younger generation can look up to and have positive role models. So maybe that's our task. That's our goal. To become the men for the next generation. I wanted to end by a quote by Grayson Perry, who's an artist who wrote the book The Descent of Man. And at the end of the book, he ends with this. Men, sit down for your rights. The right to be vulnerable, the right to be weak, the right to be wrong, the right to be intuitive, the right to not know, the right to be uncertain, the right to be flexible, and the right not to be ashamed about any of these things. Ours might be an uphill battle, but it isn't one that we can't do. Stay honest and true to yourself. Have the courage to speak. And know who really cares around you. Thank you for listening to today's episode. We hope you enjoyed this one. We took a little bit more time in getting into it, so we hope that that has shown through. We're always trying to make it better. Thank you for tuning into today's episode. We took a little bit more time before we started today because we really wanted to try and improve what it is that we're doing, as we try to do every week, but this week, yeah. And we hope that it showed, and we hope that it's made a difference. If you believe in what we're doing, if you like what we're doing, if you find it entertaining, informative, or personal, whatever, please consider giving us a like, a favourite, a comment, subscribe, there. But if you could give us a share with someone who you might know that might benefit from this, or if you just want to spread the message of what we're doing, it would mean an awful lot to us. So thank you. Thank you for being you. And we'll see you next week. Take care, everyone.